Today we're going to be talking about references, specifically reference apps. There's two that I use in almost every painting that I do. So stick around. I'm going to tell you all about them. Roll the intro. So I wanted to talk a little about reference and not necessarily getting into reference materials like when you find and you want to draw a dragon or you want to draw, you find reference of little reptilian things, snakes and lizards and alligators and all that kind of stuff. And I think all that is great, finding the type of reference. I'm talking about a different type of reference, a reference that is a little more generic, but something that I reference a lot, even when I'm doing these both are dragons here, types of dragons, but things that I reference, and I use two tools for this. And a lot of it is I pull from my imagination, I pull from whatever I see on the paper. But once I got it, once I see it and I start putting it in for refinement and to try to get a little bit more of the real. Obviously, I'm not a realistic painter or drawer. I embellish from my imagination, but I always embellish based upon reality. I've studied anatomy, faces and eyes over and over, sketchbooks full of them. I've studied. So I have a visual reference to pull from, but I still go back, and I just wanted to share a couple tools that I use that I would really recommend. And one of them here is, let me pull it up. I'm going to use my thing. It's called Handy, and this is what the little icon looks like, right? Handy. You click on it. And I'm sure there's a better way to do this, showing it, sharing my screen and stuff like that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give you this to let you see what I do, because I want to reference my drawing. So I'll pick a head. I have a tendency to use, and you can get males, females, plein air, not plein air, but planar. In other words, they're just flat surfaces. I tend to use the old man one. But here you go. So this is what it looks like. And, when it moves, you can, in all 3D space, you can move it. And it's crazy. And let me turn off my top light. Maybe that'll help a little bit. All right. Yeah, it helps out a lot. So you can see this, and I can move this in any 3D space that I want. So like let's just say that dragon here is that I'm going to pull, kind of make the face go in basically the same basic angle. Slightly up on it, like that. And then I'll come in and I can change lightings. So it's basically drag to rotate lights all around. However I want to set that up, I can do. I can also edit lights, so I can turn them off or brighten them up. And I can choose 3 different ones that I can do that too. So you can get that. It's kind of up behind that lighting force there, but I really don't have it on my painting. It's more dark. So I'm just going to do that. And then, so I'll just say, okay, that's close enough. But when I first did this drawing, I didn't have this jawline very well defined and underneath here. And you can see here just in this how well that jawline goes all the way up, how darker the shadow is, even this line of skin because he's older. And you can see I've almost kind of stuck it in here. I've replicated this in some fashion. Also the hard hit in the eye, you can see the hard hit that I've done here in the eye. So, you can see even the shadow of the ear. I've played around with some of that underneath here. So I've used, it's a dragon, But I've used this to just give me some ideas. You can even see these lines of here, you know, now I've changed the direction, right? But even this line that comes up here, and this is, I can't remember the name of this muscle here, but you can see I've played with it here a little bit, an exaggeration. And so even though it's a dragon, I'm pulling up this reference and I'm using it just to inform. Even look at the jaw, I mean the brow bone here, just kind of coming across here, right? And you can see here in the drawing, I've done the same basic thing. I've got it so that bone structure is coming through, right? Up and over the eyes, up and over the eyes here. You know, so I'm using this to just inform the drawing, to give it a little bit more life. Not real, but a little bit more life. And the same thing will happen when we move to this guy here. This guy here. So if I move this around, I got to go back here. So you just go back, I'll move it around. Oops, I'm still doing lights. Back. All right. So let me kind of get them to go. Rotate it this way just a little bit. Yeah, I'll just do more just for fun. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. So now I'm going to come back in with the lights. And I'm going to start moving those lights. And I think I had it right about in that area there. Okay, so now I can go on and I turn this one completely off. So let me turn that one on just a little bit. Just a teeny bit of fill. And I'll just leave it at that. So what we're doing now, I don't want to be able to see it. Okay, you can see how I used it. You can see the way the cast of the shadow and how I cast the shadow through here. That the eye catches that top of there's some light that hits that top eye, top rim of the eye there, and also down here. And then I kind of, you know, I gave it a little bit of almost a rim light, which you can see it here, but it's really subtle. And then as far as even how the light hits the top of the lip there, I've done kind of the same thing here. You know, the darker section that goes in here, you can see on that. Just cover up my face. There we go. Sorry, I should be switching this around a little bit as I'm talking about it. There, it's a little bit better. So you can see the shadow, the darker part here, the darker part here. See how the light is hitting the upper eyebrow and the kind of the rim, the flap of skin that's coming up over the eyelid there. And then here I got the same basic thing going here, where I'm getting a little bit of the light here and the eyelid there, you know. And I changed it up just a hair bit here, but I might actually go in and push this a little bit, so I could go back in here and looking at that and go, oh, I could get just a teeny bit more there. And then look how that flap of skin kind of rotates and works its way out. So I'm going to do that. Look at that. Doosh. Right. And then it is just a teeny bit lighter right in here. Right, as it goes into the fold. A little bit lighter there. Get a brush so I can blend it just a hair bit. But you see what I'm doing? I'm pulling out. Just because it's a dragon, it's still an eyeball. It's still an eyeball. And so I'm looking for those shadows, the darker hits that come right around in this nose area here. Let's see if I find my pencil. There it is. sharpen it. But wrapped a little farther. You can see it kind of wrapped right in here. So I pulled mine up a little bit. Now I might blend it back just a hair bit. But you can see how I use this particular reference. The next one I'm going to go into is, it's called ArtPose. There's a male and a female one. Of course, I have a tendency to use the male one. But it's going to bring up, once it loads, a figure. And I can move this figure, once again, in all 3D space. So let's just grab this guy here. And I'm going to make him bulky, real strong, right? And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to start posing him. So I can go into, not the camera, right here. And you see it's got all these little dots and stuff like that. So I can start bending him over. That sounded horrible. And trying to get the arms in roughly the same position. Lift it up just a hair bit so it's more coming out at you like that. All right, kind of digging that a little more forward. Take this, drop it, move it, kind of like that. And the cool thing is you can give them all sorts of different hands if you want to. Peace out. Just use that one. It's kind of cool. So anyhow, now all of a sudden I have, I'm going to push back to here. I have some reference for this arm. I have some of the way the light hits and bounces off of that arm. And I'm not trying to get absolutely flawlessly perfect, but this gives me some really good ideas on how the light hits, and I can move the light around a little bit if I chose to, right? But you can really see that it's hitting pretty hard right in this area here. Right? It's even kind of, I got the shadow of the rock, so it's gonna deform it a little bit, change my light, but it's pretty darn light there. You know, and it's going to give me some, maybe I can pull in a highlight here, right? Because you can kind of see a little highlight going this way. So all it does is inform. It just gives me some jumping off places to let me go. So I'm not pulling solid reference, but I am still pulling reference. You know, I'm not just letting my imagination completely run amok, if you will. You know, I can even see it's got some where it's kind of flattened here. I've moved I pull that out a little bit. Move the vein. I like veins. I have a tendency to do that. So, but I can scoot that a little bit. And then you can also see how how this part kind of wraps here. And you can see I've kind of did that with this here. That the shoulder and the pec muscle and how they meet one another. And then you can see where that highlight is. Of course, I'm dealing with the shadow from this piece of rock, but I can still work with that. You can see I'm just bringing it in, bringing that light in, but using this as reference. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about when you're doing it. And sorry, everything is yellow now because I bring this in and it color corrects. So I take it out. Oh, there it is. There's yellow. But you can see the reference in how I use it. And they're not free apps, but they're like $6, and I think FaceTime is like $4. Super cheap. My camera cut out there, so we're just going to kind of end it here. As I was talking about that the apps are super cheap, which they are. You can kind of see how I did the arm, and I did the same thing on the other dragon's arm. Pulled up the same reference. I might have made him a little bit thinner because sometimes it's fun to go super thin. You can also see muscles. Look at that. It's It's really nice to see how the muscles work. The tendons and all that, just really, really nice. So anyhow, that one is called, we'll just have to screw right here, ArtPose ME and ArtPose FE. FE is the female, ME is obviously the male. So here and here. You see I have different ones. I've got horses and all that kind of stuff. But those three, really two, are the most handy in ArtPose. But thanks for watching. And you guys take care. Give me a follow if you enjoy what you see. So thanks. Bye.